Hello, and welcome back to the Going Off Track podcast. I am Catherine, and we are on day 13 of our Spring Break Sprint F101 series. In case you missed it, I have the entire series playlist linked above in the card. But long story short, I am diving into old F1 lore from before I became an F1 fan midway through the 2021 season, and I'm helping educate other Drive to Survive era fans about this weird sport that we all love. In yesterday's episode, I reacted to the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix, where Sergio Perez raced from fifth to last to first in his first career win in all of 87 very chaotic laps. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss a video in this series and all season long, and so I can continue to inflict my motorsport opinions upon the greater population. If you're listening on your preferred podcast platform, please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Now, Nigel Mansell was a former Formula One driver who drove for the likes of Lotus, Williams, Ferrari, and McLaren in his career, and it took him 13 seasons to get his one and only title, which was in 1992 with Williams. His first season was all the way back in 1980. He racked up 9 wins, including 5 straight from pole to kick off the season, 3 more P2s, and only 4 retirements, and won the championship by 52 points, which was 1 less than the 53 points Michael Schumacher scored in P3 that year. He was also on the older side of a winner. He was 39 years old at the Hungarian Grand Prix when he clinched at the 11th round of the season, which in my where drivers clinched the championship episode, we talked about how he and Max Verstappen were tied for second earliest clincher of all time behind 2002 Michael Schumacher, because that was the ridiculous season where he did it in 11 races. Now, Mansell started his career at Lotus. He drove there from 80 to 84, then moved on to Williams from 85 to 88, a couple of years at Ferrari from 89 to 90, and then back to Williams in 1991 and 1992. Now, let's look at the champions ahead of him in every year of the career leading up to the 1992 championship. In 1980, Mansell did not classify, which means he didn't score any points. Alan Jones was the champion that year. In 81, it was Nelson Piquet, and Mansell finished P14. In 82, he finished P14 again behind Keke Rosberg. Then back to Nelson Piquet in 83, where Mansell moved up 1 to P13. In 84, he finally cracks the top 10, finishing in P10 the year that Niki Lauda won the championship. In 1985, even further up the top 10, he finished P6 behind Alain Prost. Then another Prost championship in 86, and we thought that he was close because he finished P2 that year, but missed out by 2 measly little points, which it's always those really close ones like that get you, like, the 2025 championship. Anyway, in 1987, he also finished in P2 behind Nelson Piquet, but this time the margin was a little bit bigger. He lost out by 12 points. 1988, he dropped down to P9. That was his last year of his first stint with Williams, and it was also the year that Ayrton Senna won the championship. In 1989, he moved to Ferrari. He was actually the last driver to be personally selected for the team by Enzo Ferrari, the Enzo Ferrari, and that was the year that Alain Prost won the championship. In 1990, it was another Ayrton Senna year, and he finished P5. He was actually paired at Ferrari with Alain Prost and didn't really love being the not number 1 driver because, Prost was the reigning world champion. And Mansell was actually calling it quits. He announced his retirement during the 1990 season, but Frank Williams, who's the creator of the Williams racing that we know today, basically convinced him to come back to Williams to try it again. And Mansell came back with this absurd list of requirements. He was going to be the undisputed number 1 driver, which we know that happens now. And that wasn't the most absurd thing that was on his list of requirements, but basically gave him this list. Frank Williams was like, I don't think we're going to be able to give you all of this. And he said, well, I could just retire. And then Williams turned around and gave him what he wanted, and also signed a £4 million contract per season, which made him the highest paid British sportsman of all time at the time in 1990. I was an infant. Then finally in 1991, he finished P2 again for the last time behind Ayrton Senna, and this time he missed out by 24 points. And I think it's really interesting that the closer he got to the championship in 1992, the bigger the margin was that he lost out to. Anyway, when he did ultimately eventually win, he set the record for most races before becoming world champion that would not be broken until Nico Rosberg surpassed that in 2016. And we have a whole episode on the 2016 season that is linked above and down in the show notes. He also set the record for a driver with the most Formula One wins who did not win the Monaco Grand Prix. He has won 4 races in France as his most wins in a single country, though they were at 2 different tracks, and 3 wins at Estoril in Portugal and 3 wins at Silverstone. So those are the most that he's won at a specific circuit. He would actually, interestingly, go on to leave Formula One for IndyCar, where he joined a little outfit known as Newman Haas Racing. Yes, that Haas that we know today as the Haas F1 team, but this is way before that happened, and won both the title and the Rookie of the Year much quicker in IndyCar than his tenure in Formula One. But I also think it's interesting that he teamed up with Mario Andretti because there was an open seat on his team that had been held by Michael Andretti, who had hopped over to Formula One. And we've talked about the Andrettis in Formula One and all of the F1 family members in the family episodes. So you can watch that linked above or down in the show notes. So I just thought that was motorsport is a really small little universe we've got here. But Nigel Mansell, who was also kind of a polarizing figure, he finally got his championship and then he's like, peace out, which also is the exact same thing that Nico Rosberg did. Some people just want to go out on top. That's one of them. Now, speaking of winning, next episode, we're going to talk about the most absurd margins of victory in a race because I think it's funny. And it's definitely worse than any race that we have seen lately where drivers just kind of scamper off into the sunset. So that's coming up next. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a video, and I will see you in the next one.